Points.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Broad Points Podcast. I am your host, the Broad That Points, the Broad with the Points. It's me, Tyler, the lady. Welcome, one and all, to another episode of the Broad Points Podcast. I am so pumped up to be here. I'm not gonna lie, before this, I was painting a painting to 303. I don't know if you remember 303, but that is one probably aging. You know, it's funny now to say things and then be like, oh yeah, that's what, when people used to be like, oh, that ages me. I get it now. And not like I'm ashamed of my age. I do think that there is like some weird stigma about getting older, wrinkles, our bodies changing, that I don't really subscribe to. I think that life is beautiful, all of it. All of the wrinkles and the stretch marks and the phases and the highs and the lows, everything that we experience, I think is beautiful in its own way. And I just try to find acceptance in that. But I have been painting to some throwback music, some people may say. A lot of virtual insanity and Space Cowboy from my man Jamiroquai. I think that's how you say his name. I don't even know now. Now I'm questioning myself. But guess what? It doesn't matter. But also 303. So I'm pumped this morning because I was listening to 303 before this podcast. And it might have even been in the last podcast where I had mentioned that my generation was kind of like the Project X generation, where we just like gave no Fs and we're like, we're partying nonstop, we're throwing down. Listening to 303 just brought me right back to it. I just feel so young and spry. It really is funny, though, the way that the music can transport us. And so, you know, maybe you're not feeling so pumped right now. Maybe you're kind of in a mood. Maybe the weather isn't great. Maybe you're experiencing people you're not thrilled about. Maybe try putting on some of your favorite music. Maybe try putting on some throwback music that made you happy, that made you want to dance around. I really do believe that when we have these kind of stagnant emotions or thoughts that feel stuck in our head, that feel like they keep repeating, a lot of the times we just need to move them out. We really just need to shake them off. We just need, if we can dance, you know, that's a fantastic way to just shake out some energy. I do really love dance classes. I haven't been to one in a little bit. I'm really excited to get to go to one coming up this next week, honestly, because I do just love dance classes so much. I've always loved to dance and have never really found any shame in it. Tyler has no shame when it comes to the dance floor. You know, we're just going to be out there and feel the rhythm and try some stuff. And sometimes it'll work out and sometimes maybe it won't. But I just have never cared. I have never cared. And I continue to never care. And I think that's what makes me, you know, I consider a good dancer. And I think we just have to not be afraid. Or if we're going to be afraid, pair it with a little courage, right? Put on a little courage with that fear and just do it anyways. Just do it anyways. And that really is an ongoing trend as being an artist and doing these paintings. Some days I wake up and maybe I'm not feeling too hot. Maybe I don't really want to paint. However, I do it anyways, and I really think that the emotion of it, it does translate into the painting, whether it is the actual aesthetic or appearance of the painting, or if it's like aggro strokes during the process. If I'm like really banging it out on the canvas, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm feeling a type of way. Sometimes it's a color. This painting that I did recently, I was on my period. I was experiencing back pain. It was a lot going on emotionally for me. And it translated to the canvas 100,000%, honestly, because the color selection, it just looked very painful. It was like very red and dark and looked stormy. And I was just like, wow, I was really feeling a type of way when I painted that. And I love it. And I think honestly, the point of art in general is to feel something from the art that we're intaking or putting out into the world. And I think that's too why in music, a lot of times people really are drawn to the emotional side of things, or, you can be drawn to the lyrics and it can hit in different ways. And so that's why I always try to remind everyone, especially my ladybugs here on this podcast, that music, maybe you don't want to talk to somebody, switch up your music. What do you want to hear? What if someone was talking to you? What would you want to hear in this moment? Right? And one other thing that I'm going to say is that answers are received for the questions that are asked. So if you're maybe self-isolating, hey, I get it. I love me some self-isolation. I do. I also know that if I have a question or multiple questions, the only way to get an answer is to ask those questions to those people. We just have to reach out. We just have to do it. Even if, that internal monologue is saying whatever, we have to say like, hey, this isn't really helpful. And by doing this, I'm not gaining anything. Right? When we do this level 1 energy of like, I'm a victim, I'm withdrawing, apathy, lethargy, we really are withdrawing. We're doing nothing. And inaction, hey, guess what? It's an action. And we can choose to be stagnant, right? Or we can choose to move. We can choose to ask questions that will allow us to gain insight. Questions allow us to gain connection, both with, material, if this is something work-related or school-related, or with people, or with ourselves, with this life, right? The more that we learn, the deeper of a connection we can draw with the world around us. And I don't know about you, but the more I learn, the more I want to do. The more I want to integrate myself into, the world and society, and I want to make a difference. I want to be the change that I want to see in the world. I really do want to grab life by the reins, and I want to control where I want to go. Because there's a lot of people out there, there's a lot of things going on that you could honestly just float through this whole entire life, numbed and dulled to the entire experience, and just do what you're told, and that could be you. Maybe that's what you want to be. Hey, that's great. That's wonderful. If that's what you want, that's great. However, I'm here to tell you there are other options. There are other options. And, even just in the levels of energy. And we've talked about level 1 quite a bit. I think that you guys probably get it. Right? And I mentioned the 3 things here on this podcast, but with each level of energy, there is a thought, there is an emotion, and there is an action, and so with level 1, victim, that's the thought. The emotion is apathy, and the action is lethargy. It's that withdrawal from life. Now, let's talk about level 2 energy. I've been telling you guys that I'm going to bring you some levels. Guess what? We're coming through with the levels. Level 2 energy. It's still honestly a catabolic. It's still honestly a catabolic, that's the word, level of energy, meaning that it is a destructive level of energy. It's one of the lower levels. Obviously, there's 7. We're only on 2. Step number 2, guys. It is the thought of conflict. It is the emotion of anger. And it is the action of defiance. And when I was writing this down today to remember to bring up on this podcast, defiance really stuck out to me. And I realized just how much of my life I lived in defiance. I lived because I was doing what people told me, that I shouldn't do. And I just did it just to say that I could. And wow, that is a very destructive translation of this energy. I do want to note that it is a step up from level 1. Yes, it is, because when we're withdrawn, we're not making any decisions. We're not. However, if from 1 to 2, we decide to become defensive, we decide to become angry with our results. And I'm not saying get angry at the world, because I have mentioned it on the last podcast, but getting angry at things outside of yourself don't help. It doesn't benefit anyone. Honestly, getting mad at yourself doesn't help either. But what helps is actually choosing to be a participant, choosing to make different decisions. And from level 1 to level 2, you're choosing to fight for yourself. You're choosing to, defy the lethargy at this point, because you have conflict with what is happening to you, because you don't want stuff to just be happening to you. The victim mindset it happens. It really does. Life happens. But we don't have to stay there forever. We really don't. And I think that this week's fundamental phrase will help to just seal all of this in, because going through these levels, giving you these different options, it's really all about accepting yourself and accepting where you're at, right? And that's what allows you to have choices. And so the fundamental phrase for this week is, I am enough. I am enough. I am enough. You are enough. We are all enough. Whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever you are. You are enough. You are enough, and you are worth it. You are worth deciding to fight for yourself. You're worth deciding to level up. The higher energy we have, the higher engagement, honestly, the higher connection. So giving you these options. Maybe you've been in a level 1 and you didn't know where else to go. There wasn't another option. You've just felt the withdrawal. You've really embodied or embraced that escapism. Hey, guess what? I've done it too. I've been there. And guess what? Every day is a new day for a new perspective, for a new decision, and for a new result. And that is honestly one of the things that I loved so much about going to coaching school, was just knowing that everything existed within me. And in this podcast, I'm going to give you one more level because I feel like to just leave on catabolic, like we started with 3:03 in the morning. We can't just leave you with catabolic. Although it's a step up, it's still, really resonating in the lower levels of energy. And so giving you a 3 for 3, the power of 3 will set you free, is my number, as we know. And level 3 is really when we stop blaming others, when we stop blaming external circumstances, when we just stop taking and putting blame. Level 3 is when we start to think about responsibility. And I briefly mentioned it, right? Being responsible in the last podcast. This is the level. This is the next level up. We're thinking responsibility. Our emotion is forgiveness. Because there is no blame, right? There's no blame to put anywhere. So we just have forgiveness. And our action is cooperation. We're just going through it. We're accepting responsibility for our actions. And we're cooperating. We're going through it. We're not putting a bunch of resistance because we're not seeing conflict anymore. We're not. We see forgiveness. We're able to see that, hurt people, right? And so rather than hurt a hurt person hurting a hurt person, let's just say, I forgive you. It's not okay, right? And we can tell people that it's not okay, but we can forgive people. I used to hold on to so much resentment, and honestly, it killed me. I felt so dead inside. It hurt so much to just hold on to all of this resentment. And I realized a lot of the time people didn't even know what they did because I didn't say anything. And so now I take it as my responsibility when I'm seeing something from a different perspective from someone, when I am feeling hurt by something, I take responsibility. I say, okay, hey, maybe I did something that I'm not aware of, and I want to make sure that I change it because my intention is never to hurt anyone. And I am a jokester. I do make some jokes, but I really try not to be like really hurtful or pointed at one's character because I believe that, everyone, everywhere, we're all enough just as we are, and we all have purpose and we all have talents and skills that we don't know, right? We don't know. We're all closed books until we start to learn. And so that is why I wanted to give you this brief coverage of the first 3 levels of energy here. Just give you some options, right? Because I think, like I said, we all know it feels very easy to go into level 1 and level 2. It's so seen out there in the world, in the media, if it bleeds, it leads, etc., etc. I'm giving you options. Life hack, there are more options. And so one other thing that I want to say here is to just really, wherever you're at, whatever, maybe you're in one of these 3 levels. Maybe you without me even saying, and you've already leveled up to level 3 and you're there. Wherever you're at, even if it's level 1, even if it's level 2, even if it's level 3, wherever on this journey, celebrate one positive thing about yourself. That could be about the journey. That could be about something that you've done. That could be about your physical appearance, right? My dance instructor always says, find one thing in the mirror that you love about yourself and just focus on it. And when you're dancing and when you're going through life, just think about it. If that's your pinky toe, right? If it's your left eyebrow, if it's that one eyelash today, if it's your curl. I had a girlfriend with a curl of the day. cod, her curl of the day. I would always ask her, hey, what do you have a favorite curl of the day today? If it's whatever it is, focus on that. Focus on something positive about yourself, and more things that are positive about yourself are going to rise to the surface. You're going to create a positive and loving environment for yourself to grow. And I think that is so important, right? We can be judged by everyone else in the world, but cut yourself some slack. Give yourself a break. Love yourself and allow yourself to learn on this journey, right? To really experience life and just know that we're all out here doing the same thing. Right? And if you need a friend, if you want to reach out, you can absolutely do that by following me on social media at Broad Points or at Tyler the Lady. And if you don't do social media, I get it. I'm literally just on there these days to post my time lapses of my painting, which I am very much enjoying still. So, I try to post a little inspirational phrase there, but I get it. Social media, not for everyone. 100% understand. You don't have to subscribe to that. You can email me, broadpointspodcast@gmail.com. And, maybe also when you're thinking about getting online, you're thinking about how you need some new shoes on this journey that we call life. You just want a new pair of Xero shoes. And you want to pay me when you buy those Xero shoes. Well, guess what? You can. At my Xero affiliates link, it is xeroshoes.com/go/Tyler the Lady. Now, one more final time with the fundamental phrase for the week. I am enough.